Hey there, this is Diane Brandon Moody, and I'm here again with 50 Something Love, the podcast of interest to women over 50, particularly if you're single and looking. Today, I'm just going to do some off the cuff remarks about women, what you can do to stand out in the sea of women. You ready? You might want to take some notes. So, first of all, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I have to suggest should be obvious, but it must not be based on my market research, is ladies, you got to be positive. You don't need to bite the heads off. You don't need to be angry. You don't need to be depressed. In the early stages of dating, it really isn't about you. It feels like it is. It feels like it's something personal, but it's really not, because if somebody doesn't know you that well, how can it possibly be about you? It's not, it's about them. So I know when we get over 50, we have all kinds of things going on. And some of that is we've probably had our heart broken several times, at least once, if not more than that. And this makes us a little tender at the bone when we're dating, makes us jump to conclusions. Sometimes it makes us see the worst in people without really giving them a chance. And none of that helps you in the dating world. So first of all, that's my first tip, is to be positive. Be positive in your online ad if you're doing a dating app. Be positive when you're meeting people. Be positive, be sunshine and daisies as much as you can. Now, I know you're going to say, well, I don't want that kind of a relationship. I want to be real. You have plenty of time to be real as you get to know people. But I've used this before, but let's use this as an example. Let's say you're at Starbucks and you're in line and the lady behind you makes some offhand comment and you think, hey, she sounds kind of cool. I'd like to get to know her. So you're chatting as you're waiting in line and, you're chuckling, you're both laughing, you're having a good time. So you decide to sit together. And as you're sitting together, the minute you sit down, she turns into a different person and she starts telling you about everything that's wrong with her life. She doesn't feel good. She doesn't have any money. She has been screwed over in her last 17 relationships. She doesn't trust anybody. None of this is going very well. So anyway, this is what you're thinking. And all of a sudden you're like, what happened to the woman that I was standing in line with just a little while ago? And what happens is there's a time and a place for getting real, but in the beginning is just not it. You probably are completely turned off by this woman that you thought was hilarious 5 minutes ago because you're just not ready to have to solve all of her problems. So let's extrapolate that into dating. It's the same kind of thing. And men do this too. I know. I'm not saying women don't. My next episode is all about men. So I'm not leaving men out. But the same sort of thing happens. You have a positive ad in your profile and your pictures look good and you seem to be pretty nice, and you get on a date and all of a sudden you start telling them about the money you don't have and the last 3 relationships that screwed you over and how bad your life is. And, online dating sucks and all of this. And so he start getting an impression of you that isn't good. And it's because he doesn't have enough data of the other kind to know any different. Now, you may be a perfectly lovely person and maybe he got you on a bad night, but he doesn't know this. He has no idea. He doesn't have enough data. The only data he has is that you are Eeyore. Yeah. So he's going to run away from you the fastest he can. So on your first several dates, be sunshine and roses. And if you can't be because something really happened that was devastating, that you didn't enjoy, that was bad for you, you had horrible days at work and got screamed at by customers or whatever that is, um, do the guy a favor and ask if you can reschedule and be specific because men have had a lot of women mess up on them and cancel at the last minute or whatever, as women have had happen. So sometimes he gets the message if you cancel that you're either a scammer or you're not real or you're flaky. So the way to do that is to say, something along the lines in a text, probably, "Hey, John, I was looking forward to our date. I'm afraid I've had something happen that makes me unable to make it tonight, but I would still love to see you. Are you free Thursday?" If you get a date like that, that indicates to him that you still are interested in seeing him, that something really did come up. And life happens. If he can't understand that sometimes life happens, you don't have to go into what happened. But if he can understand that life happens, then he's being the touchy one, and you don't need to be messing with that. So give him data that you're interested. You just can't tonight as previously planned. So, what is the takeaway from that? Be as positive as you can. The next thing I would say is, do you know what you want? Do you know what you're looking for in a relationship? And are you being realistic? Let's face it, people, over 50, we are not the people we were when we were 20. We've had our hearts broken, as I've said. Maybe we've had a really terrible divorce or two. Maybe we're looking toward retirement, or we've had health issues and that cost us some money, and we just aren't as easily flexible as we were once upon a time. But you do need to know basically what you're looking for. If you're a religious person, you're probably looking for a religious person. And if you're not, that's okay. You can match up that way. But just understand what you're looking for. Is education important to you? It may be that you're looking for an intelligent person, but he only has a high school diploma. He still may be smart. Lots of high school graduates are smart, but maybe he doesn't have higher education. Does that matter to you? It will matter to some people, it won't to others. How's his health? I would imagine most people are looking for a fairly healthy person. But you might give some consideration to people who have had an issue and have managed to fix it. So, just keep that in mind. You get to pick the attributes that you're most interested in, but please understand that the dude is not a Disney prince. He is a real guy, and real guy have issues. They may be confused because the last 3 women they dated got mad about something that doesn't bother you. Or maybe there's so many scammers, he's assuming you're one until it proves otherwise. Let's all give each other a little bit of grace, okay? Because that's one way you'll stand out right away, is if you give a guy some grace. I will say, let's not over rotate on the topic of tall. I am a woman who's 5'10". I understand the issue with tall. I have 3 brothers and a sister, and believe it or not, I'm the short one in my family. I have cousins that are 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". They go up from there. That's on my mother's side. We inherited the height from my mother. And then you go over to my dad's side, and my dad always claimed he was 5'10", but I could see over his head. So I don't think he was. I think he had lifts on his shoes. But, he was a little shorter than I was. And so by that definition, he was the shortest one in the family. And it never seemed to bother my parents that my dad was a tiny bit shorter than my mother. It was just not a big deal, other than the look thing. You don't pass really great guys by because they're an inch or two shorter than what you want them. Now, I know a lot of women are going to say, but I'm tall and I'm going to feel like I'm just an elephant by him. That is your own problem to deal with, lady. You have to be able to come up with the thoughts that are different from that, that you are not an elephant. You just happen to be an inch or two taller. Big deal. It's not a big deal. I had the pleasure of doing a party for David Cassidy back in the day in my early PR career. He was the love of my life when I was 10 years old. I had Tiger Beat pictures everywhere in my room. I just love this guy. Then I did a party for him at the Hard Rock Cafe when I worked there, and he walked in, and I'll be damned if he was like 5'4". I could not believe it. And I wore heels a lot in those days, so I was probably closer to 6'1". I was a little bit stunned, and yet I would have gone out with him in the day. I still would have gone out with him, and we may have looked a little silly, but I would have gone out with him. So let's not over rotate on that. Tom Cruise is about 5'6.5", 5'7". I worked on Born on the 4th of July way back in the day. I was around him a few times, and I'm considerably taller than him, and I would have gone out with him in the day. So let's not get too precious in our thinking about height. So let's just think about the things that are really, really important when we're talking about a relationship, and let's, not be so silly over the others. If you've got class and if you've got a positive attitude, that'll go a whole long way in finding somebody you want to, whether you are on apps or not. And I know the apps are terrible. So the apps were terrible when I was dating. So if you want to try meeting people in person, you can always go to my website, dianebrandonmoody.com/50-places. And that's at dianebrandonmoody.com. 50 places to meet people over 50. And how you are in public will have a lot to do with that. You can still be an introvert, but you'll find ways of meeting people much better. So again, let's just be nice people. Let's be positive. Let's not decide that they're all creepy from the beginning. The creepy is in many, many cases in your head, not necessarily real. It takes data to decide if it's creepy. I know how a lot of people tend to want to decide early on that somebody's creepy so they can move on and they don't have to live in the unknowingness. Unknowingness will drive people crazy. We want certainty. We do not want to be uncertain. We want to know. And people, there are just some things you're not going to know until you know. And what another person is like to date is one of those things. So thank you for listening to me ramble today. This was very important to me because I've seen so much of it lately where women are just shooting themselves in the foot all over the place before they even have a chance to meet somebody. And I just hate that for them, because if you want to be with someone, there is certainly a way to do it. You just got to let go of some of this baggage, people. You really do. So, and before I leave, I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Y'all, do not filter your photos at all, ever. Do not do it. Do you think they're not going to notice when they meet you in person? Of course they will. And all you're doing is postponing the inevitable and making it even uglier on yourself, because they're going to be mad. If they have manners, they may be able to hide it from you for a little bit, but they won't be able to hide it for long. You should not have professional photos. I know I'm going against the grain. A lot of photographers like to use this as a selling point. Look your best. Absolutely not. You need to look your normal. Look your normal, not your best. So, what I want you to do is get a friend, go out to a public park or a stream, a trail, a swing, something out, a tree, whatever. Go outside, be by yourself, have a friend take some good photos of you, both close up and full length. If you're a heavier person, I'm a heavier person. If you're a heavier person, you need to show what you look like because it only gets ugly if you're lying. So don't do it. Nobody looks at filtered and hidden pictures, hidden body pictures, meets you and goes, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think I was going to like you, but now I just love a plus size woman with more lines than she claims." That doesn't happen. What happens is you end up getting humiliated and then you're angry, but you did it to yourself. So don't do that. Get good pictures, but take them by a friend because your goal is when you sit down that the guy is going to say, "Oh my gosh, you're so much prettier than your pictures." That's a compliment. It's not to say your pictures are bad. It's just to say you're better looking than what I was expecting. That is far better than, "Oh my God, who let the dogs out?" Nobody wants to be that way. So don't do that. Okay? I think that's about all for my rant today. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you. Please subscribe, like, send to somebody you know. Let's talk about it. You can join my Facebook group, dianebrandonmoody.com, Dating Over 50. You can get to my website, download the 50 Places to Meet People Over 50. Let's get to know each other. I got married myself and didn't until the first time until I was 58. So I can pretty much tell you that I've been through everything you have. Let's get this going, people. Thank you for being here. Bye.